So when it comes to planning our business, we're going to use this quote from Jim Rohn. If you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan. And guess what they have planned for you? Not much. It's pretty true. People, it's just our nature. We think about ourselves first. And especially in real estate when you're self-employed, if you don't have a plan for your day and other people start tugging you in different directions, and this could be everybody, from your children, your spouse, your friends, your clients, it can be everybody. You start getting pulled in a lot of different places, and you get to the end of the day and you feel exhausted. It's been a crazy day. It's been so busy. And yet, what did I get done? And we've all been there. We've all had those days where we get to the end of the day, we feel like a lump of jello, life's just beating us up, and we can't pinpoint anything productive that happened that day. I've been there. If you've been in this business very long, you've been there too. So what we want to do is we want to try to avoid that a little bit. We want to create our own life plan. Now, today, I'm going to be referencing a couple different handouts that I have created, and they are available to you in the handout section. You can click those and download them right to your computer right now, so that way you don't have to email me later on and asking for copies of stuff. You can go ahead and just get those directly. Now, I'm going to show you how I use these three different forms, and honestly, two of them are important, because two of them are kind of interchangeable. You just pick which one you like the best to use, okay? I kind of vacillate back and forth. That's why I'm going to show you all three. Sometimes I like one, sometimes I like another. Number one rule to me, if we're making a business plan, I want to keep it simple, all right? You guys have probably all seen business plans. I've been to training camps. I've paid for training programs. I could turn around on my bookshelf here behind me and find a business plan that was just complicated, 20 pages long. You know, where are you going to be in 5 years? Where are you going to be in 10 years? I don't know. You know, if I start making $100,000 a year, my life's going to change dramatically from where I am right now, brand new into real estate. You know, how can I anticipate where I might be in 5 years? This industry changes so much. Who knows where I'm going to be? Life can change so much. You can get married, you can have children. Your children could all leave the house and you'd be an empty nester. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of these great big long business plans where you spend hours and hours filling something out, when honestly the job that we have to do is a simple job. And it's not rocket science, and whether I'm an empty nester or not, I need to be doing certain things every single day. Now, is it important for me to have goals? Yes, I absolutely believe in goals. Goals that give me direction of what I need to be doing right now. So this is where I'm going to take you to our first form. Goals are, what do you want to make? What do you have to make? And to help kind of back this up, what was the average sales price in your market last year, and what percentage of clients actually closed? So I'll show you the form that I like for this. It's this one right here. All right. So this is a form that I'll use on a daily basis. Let me go to a different view here. There we go. Should be able to see the form now. This is one of these that I've shared with you. On a daily basis, print this form out. All right. And if you don't do it on a daily basis, just use it right now for making a business plan. And a one-page business plan, I'm a huge fan of. Okay, it's simple, it's direct, and it tells you what you need to do right now. All right. So here we go. We've got our goals up at the top. That's this first little section up here. We keep them simple. We can view them at a glance, and every day I want you to write it down. You could fill this out and then just print out the filled out version every time. So I've got a text coming in right now. Somebody saying that they're having a hard time getting on. So let me just respond to this text really quickly. All right, I'm back with you now. Sorry about that. I try to be fairly responsive to questions that come in this case a text. But same thing with you guys. If you have questions, comments, please type them in the question panel. Love to respond to them, help you guys out. All right, so back to our little goal section up here. Let's say that I do want to make $100,000 a year. All right. If I'm going to make $100,000 a year, that's my take-home income, then I need to be closing roughly 2 transactions a month or 24 transactions a year. Okay. And that's just because I know, if I pull up my calculator here, if it'll work. So let's say in my marketplace, I've got an average sales price of $160,000. Now, hopefully you're in a market where it's higher than that, but I know some of us aren't. We're in markets where that's about right. So if I'm going to make 3% on that, that's $4,800 times 24 transactions. Okay, I'm going to overshoot it a little bit, but rather than say my goal is 1.89 transactions a year, let's just make it 2. Okay, that would give me $115,000 a year. And for most of us, that's pretty good, right? For any other type of job, most professional type jobs, that's really good. I know coming out of school right now, new college degree, you're starting maybe $40,000, $50,000 if you can find a job. So at $100,000, we'd be doing pretty well, 115. So that's 24 transactions a year. Dividing that up monthly is easy, 2 transactions a month. Okay. Now the next thing that we need to figure out is how many clients does that mean that we're going to get? If I jump back to this, okay, so we've got my average sales price. That helps me figure out how many transactions I need to close to earn the commission to make what I want to make. But how many clients do I need to get? Because is every client I get going to actually close? So if I signed on 24 clients, am I going to have 24 transactions? Those of you that have been in the business, the answer is a resounding no. The stuff happens. You know, buyers go out and buy a brand new truck the week before closing. Yeah, you advised them not to. They didn't listen. Okay, your deal fell through. It's not going to be resurrected. You're not going to get it back. Sellers, sometimes they're overpriced. They can't do anything about it. Sometimes they go to bankruptcy. If you work with foreclosures, sometimes you lose them. So how many clients do I need to sign on to actually close those 24? For me, my secret recipe has always been plan for the worst. Okay, so I'm actually going to sign on 4 clients a month. That means half of my clients can fall through and have me still hit my goal. All right. And I think that's pretty reasonable. For half my clients to fall through and still hit my goal, I ought to be comfortable with that. Okay. If I'm doing worse than that, then it's probably a training issue on how to take care of my clients and get them through to sold. But for now, let's plan on getting 4 clients a month. Okay, that means I need to sign a new exclusive buyer broker agreement or exclusive right to sell agreement every week. Now, when I say I need to sign an agreement, I hope that stuck with you guys. I hope you've taken those trainings where we're talking about working with sellers and working with buyers. This isn't just me going out and showing people stuff. These are people that have signed a committed agreement to use my services. Not just people I stick in my car and drive around town and then play follow-up games with them for 3 or 4 months. These are people that are committed. And they're committed because I know they're committed. They've signed the form saying that they're committed to me. So I'm going to sign on a new client every week. That's my goal. In order to do that, how many appointments do I need to set? So we're just reverse engineering this back. Now, every appointment that I go on, every listing appointment, every buyer appointment, I'm going to sign every single one that I go on. And again, this comes down to your skill set. And quite honestly, a lot of times it's how long you've been in the business. For a brand new agent, you might be 50%. You might need to be going on 2 appointments a week and you'll only land half of them. For me, I'll probably land 80 to 90% of the clients that I go to visit. I'm not going to get all of them, but I'm going to get most of them, and it's a little bit easier because I've been in the business for a while. My presentations flow fairly smoothly now. I just know what I'm doing. Okay, so it will get easier for you over time, but depending on where you are in the business, set a goal. Maybe you need 2 clients a week or 2 appointments a week. Maybe you need more. Okay, maybe you need 3 appointments a week. So then our next question is, how many calls do we need to make each day to land 2 appointments a week? And this is a simple matter of now doing the call. So I'm going to jump back to our training here. Maybe. There we go. All right, so step 1 in your business plan is have a goal. Know where your business is headed. We're going to make $100,000 a year. We're going to do that by closing 2 transactions a month. We're going to do that by signing on 1 client every single week. And we're going to do that by making a certain number of calls. And we're going to figure out those calls as we go. All right. So this is just kind of a breakdown of it. If I want to make 124, 13 transactions would give me $60,000. So that's basically 1 a month. And I can do roughly $60,000. So even if you're part-time, there's some pretty decent income that you can make if you're focused and if you do the right things day in and day out. So if you're making a part-time business plan, whether you have another job, whether you're a full-time mom, whether you just have, you like to play and, you're getting close to retirement and you don't want to be at the grindstone all day long anymore. Whatever your goals are, get them down on paper and commit yourself to them. Because even if you're part-time, be committed for the time that you say you're going to. All right. Now that we've got this done, let's determine what resources we have. Okay, so we're going to review each day of the week and determine which hours of each day are going to be dedicated to real estate. So our first resource is time. And again, especially if you're a part-time agent, that becomes very, very difficult to allocate that resource to real estate. But you have to have a plan. So when I start out in the morning, if I'm a part-time agent, I'm going to say, you know what, I've got 2 hours today that I'm going to work real estate. I'm committed 100% to working those 2 hours. If a friend calls me and says, hey, let's go play, I'm going to say, nope, I'm going to be working my real estate business today. If my wife says, hey, let's go out to dinner, I'm going to say, nope, I'm going to be doing my real estate business today, and I'm going to be focused, okay? Now, what's my budget or timeline to start earning money? These are other resources when you're figuring out your business. And this is some stuff that, again, with most business plans, you're going to spend more time figuring in this stuff, your budget and how quickly you need to start earning money. And those are important things. And most brand new agents, I don't advise to, unless you've got some money saved up, don't just come cold turkey into real estate, because even if you did get a client on your very first week, you're going to be a couple months out before you get a paycheck. And that can be pretty stressful on a family. If you do have some money saved up, great, jump in and start working it. But if not, then you got to figure out, what is my budget to get going? How soon do I need to make money? Because that's going to help you determine your commitment level too. I've got to get rolling on this fast. I've got to start making money now. So I'm very committed to it. So step 1, determine your resources. All right, then we're going to determine some key activities that we can do throughout the day. So this is where we're going to look at another form that I've included for you. Key activities, prospecting, marketing, appointments, education, self-improvement, daily planning, that kind of stuff, okay? So this is where we're going to look at another form. Let me change the view on this as well. All right, there's a couple things that I like about this, and I'm gonna go back and forth between a couple of our forms here. Okay, with this form, that form that I made my business plan on, here's what I like about it. I like that it's got my goals up at the top, and I like that it's got a way for me to track what it is I'm doing. So if today I made 10 contacts, I just do hash marks. I've got my 10 contacts. And then at the end of the day, usually I don't do hash marks for weekly and monthly. I'll just write in a number. So if I did 10 today, I've got 10 for the week and 10 for the month. Tomorrow I'll start doing hash marks again. I'll print out a new sheet, and this will start at 10, and at the end of the day I'll cross that out and write 20. And since I'm doing a new sheet every day, I just keep this updated. Now what that does for me is it helps me track the success of my efforts. Okay, so I'm making the contacts. Let's say my goal is 20 contacts a day. So I'm making 20 contacts a day. Did I get an appointment? And if I go 2 days doing 20 contacts with no appointments, I'm not meeting my goal, because I should be getting an appointment at least every other day to get my 2 or 3 appointments needed to get my 1 client signed that week. And that's how I track this. So I've got my 20 contacts for 2 days of work, and yep, I got an appointment, and yes, I got it signed, or I didn't sign a client, or whatever. Okay, but down here I can track some of the different things that I need to do. I need to call different people. I need to do different tasks. Okay, so that's how I use the daily business plan guide. Now, with this form, I like it, and I'll go back and forth to this because it's got some things that I think are really important. Have I reviewed my goals? Again, that other form has the goals right at the top, so I like that. Did I exercise today? Did I plan my day out in advance? Something I should be doing. Did I read, listen to a book, improve myself? So these are things that I want to do every day. I want to start my day out with the right mindset, being grateful rather than being needy. If you get on the phone and you've got a needy tone to yourself, you're desperate, you're not going to get any sales. If you start out the day with gratitude, then people are attracted to you, whether you're marketing or at a presentation. You're going to do better if you have a mindset of gratitude. Okay, top 20. When I'm planning my day out, again, these are the top 20 people I need to call, and I want to plan this out in advance. I want to have names and phone numbers so that if I get in my car and I'm going to an appointment or something, I could actually make calls while I'm driving. Now, again, you're going to want to have a Bluetooth headset or something. Make sure that you're safe. Make sure that you're legal. But sometimes you get to an appointment early. Sometimes somebody else gets there late. Rather than sit there for 5 minutes not doing anything, get a couple of calls made. But even on some of my busiest days where I'm driving 3 or 4 hours, I can get a lot of calls done during that time and still be safe in my car with it. Fab 5, those are my top 5 activities I want to do. And I've got 10 spaces here because quite often it grows on me in the day. But I want to start the day planning, again, taking control of my day, planning out some of the things that I want to do. The last form that I'm going to share with you that I've really enjoyed using recently is this one. And this is kind of a combination of those other two in that I get to track different activities. And so as we were just talking with our training, determine key activities, I like this form because this form gives us key activities. All right, all of these things are things that are going to generate business. Client, customer, SOI calls. My goal is to generate 300 points a week. And I think for a full-time agent, this is very reasonable. I think if you pushed hard, you could do more than 300 points regularly. If you were part-time, I think you could probably still do 150 to 200. So start tracking yourself and see how you're doing. But when I'm calling a client, I get 5 points a call. So I'd have to do 12 calls a day, 5 days a week to get my 300 points if I'm just making calls. Okay. If I'm sending out thank you notes, I get a few points for that. I do get some points for attending training classes, things like, because knowledge is important to me. And then I get points for setting up a buyer appointment. I get points for setting up listing presentations, a listing appointment, for signing an agreement with a listing or a buyer. That's for an exclusive buyer broker or exclusive right to sell agreement. I get points for offers and points for closings. Okay, so this kind of keeps me on track for activities that actually promote my business. You'll notice that surfing YouTube and Facebook aren't on here. Yes, you can do some good marketing on Facebook, but if you've done some marketing there and people are nibbling at it, you still got to make the calls to them for it to happen. Okay, so make the calls. I think this is a really important part of anybody's business plan. I use the points because it just keeps me focused a little bit, lets me know that the activities that I'm doing are valuable, and especially in my job, where I'm training and I'm a broker and I've got other stuff going on, it's really easy for me to get distracted and not do anything for my clients and to fall out of touch with my sphere of influence. And this happens to me over and over and over. I fall into this cycle where I don't make my calls like I should. And a week will pass and I'll miss important contacts with my sphere of influence. And if I don't go back and make that up, then pretty soon I haven't contacted them for a couple of months, and then it becomes a year, and then it becomes 2 years, and then they're hiring another real estate agent because they haven't heard from me in a long time. Okay? And that happens to me. And so this is something good to help keep yourself focused a little bit. So with me personally, I like this form combined with one of these other forms. Okay? Maybe it's this form here where I've planned my day out in advance and I'm focused on some good activities that I can do. This is my planning form, my daily plan form. And maybe, since I'm tracking my calls on that other sheet, maybe I pull out my business plan guide once a week and say, you know what, this week, according to that other checklist I just showed you, I made this number of phone calls. And so I can come in here once a week and just kind of track and see how I did. Well, I made my 60 phone calls. I got a couple of appointments, and just start kind of filling in, measure yourself, and see how you do. Okay? So step 2 is determine the key activities. And again, if you use that form that handout that I'm giving you, that helps with that. Next is kind of, we're talking about a budget now for our marketing. Okay? You'll be approached continuously by different people that want you to spend your money on different marketing plans. Everything from magnetized business cards to websites to search engine optimization to Zillow and Trulia trying to get you to market on their sites. Okay? There's no end to the different types of marketing that people can get you to spend your money on. So just like any other business, we want to have a plan. How much are we going to budget for marketing? I like 10%, okay, or some certain monthly allotment of $300, okay? The thing that I like about that is that if I have that money set aside, number one, I haven't spent it, but I start to reinvest in my business. And as I get the marketing out there, then hopefully that starts to trickle in and hopefully eventually flow in if I do it long enough. People start to see my name. I start to become a presence in the area, and it flows to me, and I've got a budget and it's set aside and it doesn't affect my daily living or anything like that. And I like 10% because even if I'm not making very much, let's say I'm just closing one deal a month, making about $4,000, so I've got $400 set aside for marketing. It's at least something, and it has my mind on that, and I'm tracking it. Okay, anytime you spend money on marketing, you want to track your marketing and see what kind of a yield it's giving you. You've got different resources available too. A lot of times with lenders, you can partner and co-market certain things, and it's legal as long as you're sharing the cost jointly. So each one of my listings, I send out 100 postcards to a surrounding neighborhood, and it costs me 31 cents for each postcard. The lender has the program that does it. That's the true cost for it. It's 63 cents each, so we spend 31.5 cents each on it. But it's a really inexpensive way to me to get the word out there and do some nice high quality stuff, and it doesn't cost me very much. If you've taken our Power Team training, there's lots of other ways that you can get a lot of bang for your buck with the marketing. Okay, other resources that we provide for you that are little to no cost. You've got the website, the ProAgent website. There's some great stuff there. A mobile application. In my office, I offer some enhanced marketing that our agents can take advantage of, where we're doing lots of promotional stuff for each of the listings. But figure out your budget for marketing and start setting a little bit aside so that you're not just waiting for somebody with a great sales pitch to come along. And if somebody does come along with a great sales pitch and you say, you know what, right now I've got $400 a month allocated towards this stream. It hasn't been generating very well, so now here's this nice sales pitch. Yeah, I can shift my $400 over to this one. Or maybe your $400 is generating income for you. You are getting leads from that, and you've heard a new sales pitch, and you say, you know what, I'm going to increase my business and be able to pay for this new one, or have the courage to say, no, I'm going to pass that up because what I have right now is actually working really well for me. And until it works well enough to give me a bigger budget with the 10%, I'm not going to invest in anything else. I'm not going to break what's already working. Step 4, track. This is a challenge because there's nothing fun about tracking your work. Okay, it's rewarding when you're making phone calls and people are, interacting with you if you're making some progress, but tracking your results every day, it's just not as fun. But it's vital to any real business. Okay, can you imagine if a lot of us have worked cashier jobs, maybe it's a fast food place, or I worked at a grocery store for a while. Can you imagine if they didn't count the till at the end of the day? I mean, that'd be nuts, right? They count the till and they account for every penny. I mean, if there are pennies missing, they're finding out why. Okay, it's accountability. And every good business does it, and so should you. So as you're making these calls, if you're using some of these handouts that I've provided for you, you can track your activities. How many calls have you made a day? What type of calls were they? Were they sphere of influence calls? Were you visiting with builders? Was it your farm area? What was it that you were doing? And as you find things that you were doing and they start to work, that's optimal because now you know what's working. You can keep doing it. But it also, it works on the reverse side. As you do activities that don't yield any fruit, then you can stop doing those things. You can identify early on, hey, this isn't doing anything for me, so I'm going to stop doing this. So start tracking your activities and the results. How many calls do you make daily? How many appointments do you generate from those? How many clients do you sign, and how many closings do you get? And this is exactly what we were talking about with this form. So I really like the idea as I'm talking to you guys of changing this from a daily business plan to maybe a weekly business plan, and then using all 3 of these forms. So every week I'm going to print this one out because this is good for a week. I've got all my days in there. All right, and I'm tracking all the different calls that I'm getting, and I'm tracking if I get appointments because I've got a buyer appointment. I should have a listing appointment on here somewhere too. I've got my listing presentation. So yeah, I've got my buyer appointment, I got my listing presentation. So I get points for those things. So I'm tracking all of the calls, I'm tracking the appointments that I get as a result of those calls, and then if I sign a listing or a buyer contract, I'm tracking those. So what I can do is I could print this out on a weekly basis and keep track of all my numbers here. On a daily basis, I can use this form for planning out in advance. Again, if we go with that quote that we started with this morning, if we don't make a plan for ourselves, then we're going to be yanked to and fro by everybody else. So if I started every day out printing out a new one of these, and I went over my goals, I got my exercises in, I filled out this sheet so I could check this box off, I improved my mind listening to a good book. I got my head in the right frame set by starting out with gratitude. And then I made a list. I just took the time to write it down. And here's the top 20 people I'm going to call today. Here's the top 5 activities I'm going to do today to improve my business. And if I started with this plan and then tracked it all on this sheet, these are the things that I did. I made the calls and everything. And again, I just use hash marks. The sheet's big enough for me. I can fit 20 hash marks. I could do 20 calls on each little block here and kind of keep track of it. And if I track that through the week, and then at the end of the week I pulled out this, and I should change the name to Weekly Plan Guide because I'm really liking how this is flowing together. And then I don't have to vacillate between which forms I'm using. I can use all three of them. But then I can come here and say, you know what? How is this working for me? I'm tracking my numbers. Is it matching with my goals? Because this would be the only sheet that would really tell me if my numbers match my goals. And so this would be just an accountability worksheet that once a week I would fill out at the end of the week. And I would say, yep, I made for the week my 60 contacts. I set 4 appointments. I signed 1 client. Didn't have any transactions yet, but I will coming up. I'm starting to get some deals under contract. And start seeing if what I planned up here is enough. Okay, because our last step in our training after we're tracking results is to make adjustments. Okay, so once I've done that tracking, and at the end of the week I look at it and say, you know what, I'm making the calls, I'm setting the appointments, but I'm not getting the clients. Well, this tells me maybe I can train myself a little bit better on my presentation. Maybe I can fine-tune it a little bit. Maybe I could listen to some other people. We could ask the broker if we can do some role plays at the office. There's different things that I can do to improve that aspect of my business. But there's a lot of agents that never do this kind of internal examination and say, this is where the weak point is in my business. This is where I need to improve. I've got the work ethic, I'm doing the work, I've got the appointments, but this isn't happening for me. All right. And then the other question, do I need to work harder? Maybe I'm working too hard. You know, maybe if my goal was $100,000 a year and I'm happy with that income and I'm hitting it easy, I'm easy closing 2 or 3 deals a month, but I'm starting to pay on the backside, meaning that I'm starting to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week, and I haven't seen any of my son's soccer games. And so, my relationship there is getting a little bit strained. And my wife isn't real pleased with that. We haven't been on any dates in a long time. So do I maybe need to ease up a little bit and say, you know what, $115,000, that's good for me for a year. I don't need $200,000. I need a good relationship. I need a healthy relationship. I need to take care of myself and take care of my family, and the 115 is good. And honestly, there's a time for that too. Sometimes we do get a little bit off kilter, and finding that balance can be very important. If you're happy at home, you're going to be a lot more effective at the time that you're at work as well. Sometimes we realize, you know what, I'm in over my head. Maybe I don't have enough time, because I've got all of these other responsibilities, so I'd like to partner with another agent. And tracking your activities and seeing how you're doing, seeing where your weaknesses are, because, maybe I'm really, really good at, I have no problem talking to people. I can talk to people, but I hate the detail work of showing buyers homes, and tracking the paperwork and all of that stuff. Well, guess what? There's other people out there that are scared to death of talking to people, and they love that detailed work. Okay, so maybe if you partnered with somebody like that, you could make a real winning combination. But you learn things about yourself when you start tracking your activities each day. And when you start analyzing those on an evening and a weekly basis, you learn things about yourself and about your business. And that allows you to make these adjustments. Sometimes they're big adjustments. Sometimes and mostly it's just fine tuning, saying, hey, I need to be a little bit more focused during these hours. These are my prime hours right here. Right now, I'm allowing myself to get distracted by other things. I'm going to focus on these prime hours, get my calls done during this time. This is when I'm most effective. Start making these little fine-tune adjustments, and pretty soon you got a business that rolls along pretty smooth. Okay, so guys, as far as a business plan goes, whether you've been in the business for a long time, hopefully this, primarily the tracking stuff, hold yourself accountable. we allow so many bad habits to creep into our business. Hold yourself accountable. Start tracking how well you're doing on real money-making activities. You know, have a little bit of, for a lot of people, it might be an eye-opening experience. You know, I feel like I'm working really hard. I'm just not doing the stuff that counts. And start getting into the habit of planning each day out in advance so that it doesn't happen to you by accident, but rather you take the day and make it what you want of it. We're going to end a little bit early today. I want to thank you for joining me. If you have questions or comments, please email me at brokerericlee@gmail.com. But guys, I hope you can. The idea behind doing a training once a week is that you guys have a chance to try to implement some of these things. I hope these handouts that I've given you today can help you in doing this, that you can be a little bit more focused and be a little bit more successful in your business. So thanks again for joining me, and I will see you next week.